Welcome to AOSOA Media. I'm your publisher, Tina Dixons, and today we are going to be talking about decluttering, okay? So enjoy.
How to declutter your mind and prevent information overload. We are regularly told that we would be happier if we lived a slightly more minimal life, if we had a little less stuff, if we were less stressed at work, and if we turned our phones off occasionally. It's time to reconnect, focus on what is important, and just chill. But this is all easier said than done, especially during an age when we have more on our minds than ever before, and it feels as though everyone is constantly vying for our attention. How do you declutter and avoid information overload? Listen and find out. Let's start with decision fatigue, a phenomenon that sees the quality of our decision-making start to decline over time. This shows us that decision-making requires energy, and that with time, we can exhaust that energy. In other words, your ability to make decisions is finite, and so it's important that you apply a little resource management. This is hard when you consider the huge number of different decisions that you face on a daily basis, from what to have for dinner, to what to wear, to whether or not to go out. Expending energy on these smaller, meaningless decisions can actually leave you with less capacity to make the decisions that matter. How do you avoid this? Cut back. Famously, Steve Jobs attempted to reduce decision fatigue by actually wearing the same outfit every single day, thereby giving himself one less decision to make. Information, meanwhile, comes at us from every angle, though. Your phone is constantly ringing and beeping. You're probably working on a computer for a big part of the day. And walking down the street, you probably see a ton of billboards, ads, and screens. Every time this happens, your body is aroused and your attention diverted. This prevents you from enjoying a calm state of mind and means that you are much more likely to feel exhausted and overwhelmed by the time you even get into work. One tip: try turning down the brightness on your phone all the way. This can help you to cope with the addictive nature of pulling it out of your pocket to look for notifications. Another tip is to spend more time meditating each day. You can counteract all that noise and stress by taking a few moments every day to just let your mind be still and calm. How minimalism helps to reduce stress. Feeling stressed? Join the club. These days, it is more and more normal to feel stressed, to the point where many of us accept it as a simple fact of life. Unsurprisingly, though, this is not something that should be encouraged. We should not accept stress, and in fact, we should aim to design our lives with the aim of reducing stress as far as possible. And one way we can start to do that is to live a more minimal lifestyle. This presentation will help explain how that can help to remove stress in your life. One obvious way in which minimalism can reduce stress is by removing financial strain. One of the biggest stressors for many of us is our finances. We are stressed that we don't have enough money or that we're in debt. This in turn comes from living outside of our means. In reality, it doesn't matter how much you earn, as long as you are earning enough to support your lifestyle. Live a more minimalist lifestyle, and you'll find that you can support that lifestyle with far less cash, and that immediately removes a lot of stress. What's more is that lowering the cost of your lifestyle also means you don't need to work quite so hard and don't need to keep aiming for more and more demanding jobs. If you find a level you're comfortable at, then you can stay there and just enjoy your spare time around that. Having less stuff can even help you to directly reduce stress. That's because clutter actually causes arousal. When there is a lot of stuff in your peripheral vision, that means there is more for your mind to attend to. That in turn means it needs to be alert, which the body interprets as stress. Just having a simpler environment can help you to unwind and relax more. But more than anything, a minimalist lifestyle means being content with what you have and being happy with who you are. It means knowing what's important to you and focusing on that. And if you can do that, then you can stop worrying that you have less than your friends and just be happy that you're healthy. If you want more now, you will always want more. The key to happiness and the key to beating stress is to learn to appreciate what you already have and stop worrying about what you don't. Why less is more? How many items do you currently have on your Amazon wish list? When was the last time you bought something you didn't really need and then felt guilty about spending the money? Too many of us are under the impression that we need more to be happy. More money, more clothes, and more stuff. The reality, though, is that less is often more, and that learning to let go of your attachment to material possessions can actually make you a lot happier. In this presentation, we're going to address why less is more and what that actually means. When it comes to decorating a room, the objective is often for us to fill it with things we love, as a way to express who we are, and to make our room more familiar and more comfortable. At the same time, cool features impress friends, and they make our life that little bit easier. But do they? I want you to take a look around the room you're in right now, and imagine getting rid of half of the ornaments you have on display. What would the room look like then? In all likelihood, it would look bigger because it would have less clutter in it. At the same time, you would also find that the items that were left would draw more attention to themselves. You'd find that you could appreciate each item more, and the average quality of each item would be much higher, seeing as it wouldn't be lost among the things you were less excited by, that you would get rid of. Best of all, cleaning would now take a fraction of the time, and you'd find the room looked much tidier a lot more of the time. You'd spend less time dusting and more time feeling relaxed in a tidy, organized room filled with a few beautiful items. This all just goes to show that in terms of interior design, less truly is more. But it goes beyond that too. Less can also be more when it comes to design in other areas. In graphic design, there is a maxim that says, communicate, don't decorate. That is to say that if something doesn't have a specific purpose, then it is surplus to requirement. Clear, concise communication is only achieved by removing the unnecessary trimmings. And if a minimalist approach can do all that, imagine what it can do when applied to your own lifestyle. Less truly is more, and as soon as you realize that, life becomes much easier to enjoy. What is a minimalist lifestyle? You might have heard people talking about living a more minimalist lifestyle. Perhaps you've heard that it can help make you happier and more content with what you have. And maybe you've heard that it can result in a better-looking home, or that it can support a freer lifestyle with more travel and less stress. But what exactly do we mean when we use the expression? How does being more minimal make you happier exactly? And how do you go about embracing that lifestyle for yourself? Essentially, the idea behind a minimalist lifestyle is simple. It hinges on the notion that you can be happier with less. Many of us believe that the more possessions we acquire, the more things we own, the happier we will be. This then motivates us to work harder, to take on more responsibility in our workplace, and generally to keep pushing forward. The problem is that possessions don't truly make us happier. In fact, they actually make us more stressed. The more you have, the more you want. And no matter how much you own, you'll always be comparing yourself to others who have more. We are motivated to fill our lives with more material possessions by advertising on television and in magazines, and by seeing people around us who appear to have more than us. Social comparative theory states that we base our happiness not on how much we have, but on how much we have compared to those around us. When we are constantly being shown images of highly wealthy people in flashy cars with expensive clothes, it makes us feel inadequate, and thus unhappy with our own accomplishments and possessions. This motivates us to live outside our means, which means we have more to lose, and we have to work much harder to maintain what we have. In turn, that means that we can spend less time with our family and friends, less time on our hobbies, and less time doing the things that are important to us. Once you learn to live with less, though, you can turn all that around. The less you have, the more you value and enjoy what you do own. The lower your living expenses, the less you have to work, and the less stress you create for yourself. This is even apparent in interior decor. A minimalist home is one that looks spacious, light, and well-designed. Remove the clutter and focus on what really matters in your life. That is the ethos behind the minimalist lifestyle. How to fight the urge to buy unnecessary stuff. When you first decide to live a more minimal life, you will probably start by throwing out a whole lot of things and organizing what remains in a more coherent fashion. You'll feel good about yourself, and for a while, life will be a bit simpler. But that's the easy part. Unfortunately, minimalism isn't something you can do once and then move on from. Rather, this is a commitment that you need to maintain indefinitely. And that means resisting the urge to undo all your good work by buying lots of unnecessary stuff. In this presentation, we'll look at how you can resist the urge and maintain your minimal way of living. The one in, one out rule. One of the easiest ways to resist the temptation to buy everything you want is to create a one in, one out rule. This rule states that every time you buy something, you have to get rid of something else of equal size. This ensures that you never build up too much clutter, and it means that you will only ever want to add something to your collection when it represents a genuine improvement over your current belongings. Wait for it. Another useful rule to enforce is that you have to wait 24 hours between first deciding you want something and buying it. This is important because it prevents you from making emotional and impulsive purchases. Unfortunately, advertisers know exactly how to play us and make us feel like we need to take action right away. Thus, we buy things based on emotion rather than logic. If you go away and think about it, you'll often find that you actually don't need it after all. Write it down. Sometimes we get a strange feeling that if we don't buy something right away, then we'll somehow forget about it, or we'll lose our opportunity. It's like we have a pent-up energy that feels as though it must be released. How do you get around this? One option is simply to write down the things you want, or add them to a list. Each time you do this, you will get that sense of release, and that will make you a little less urgent in your need to splash the cash. Budget. Another useful way to restrict spending is to write a budget. Decide on how much you can spend on yourself each week, and then commit to not going above that amount. If you want to buy something big, you'll need to build up a few weeks' worth of budget. How to implement minimalism into work and business. When we speak of minimalism, your mind may turn to interior design. Or perhaps you think of a minimalist lifestyle in terms of reducing your unnecessary possessions so that you can gain more enjoyment from the things you own. Letting go of your material possessions and living like a monk is said to be highly liberating, and indeed it is. But minimalism can also be applied to other aspects of life, including science, and yes, even business. In this presentation, we'll take a look at how you can apply the principles of minimalism to your own life and start thriving as a result. What does minimalism mean in the context of business? Simple. It means removing what's unnecessary and focusing on what gets results. Minimalism means not overcomplicating your business with unnecessary procedures and protocol. And perhaps this brings to mind one culprit in particular, one famous time drain that affects many of our working lives: meetings. Meetings eat up a ton of time and very often achieve very little. A meeting means taking time out of your day and out of the days of each member of your team in attendance. So if you have 5 people attending a 1-hour meeting, that's 5 hours you just lost. So the question should always be, could you communicate the same thing by email or phone? If the answer is yes, then don't hold a meeting. Meetings are just one example of what we call communication overhead. Other examples are emails, phone calls, and any other correspondence that takes time out of your main job. Communication isn't the only culprit, though, either. There are many other unnecessary processes and time saps that waste time and money for the average business. Another particularly bad example is micromanagement. If your team is forced to report in on every small decision it makes, or to go through red tape every time it tries to contribute, then you are wasting your talent and you are wasting time as a business. Then there are all those tiny jobs that take up time and make your business more complicated than it needs to be. Processes that could be streamlined, jobs that could be automated, and services that could be outsourced. It's time to focus on the one thing your organization does well, and to invest all your time and energy into accomplishing that in the most streamlined and effective manner possible. That is minimalistic business, and that is good business. Quality over quantity. Whether you're talking about business, love, interior design, possessions, friends, or anything else, the words quality over quantity will always ring true. People are finite. We have limited time, limited money, and limited energy. You cannot be everywhere at once. There is a limit to how many relationships you can maintain, and there's a limit to how much work you can do. With that in mind, how do you get the most from what you have? How do you make the very best use of your time and energy? The answer always lies with focusing on quality rather than quantity. Let's imagine a home that is filled with 100 items, and each item is 1% beautiful. How does that room look? Terrible. It's a cluttered mess, filled with junk. Apart from that, it will be hard to clean, hard to organize, and nothing will stand out. Now imagine the same room filled with 4 items that are 20% beautiful. With the same space and the same money, you've accomplished something far more beautiful. The same is true in business. Faced with the option of creating lots of low-quality products or a few very high-quality ones, what do you think will be best for your long-term business aspirations? The latter option, of course, will help you to build more trust with your customers, to create more buzz about your future releases, and to lose less money on returns and complaints. Similarly, maintaining just a few great clients is always better than juggling hundreds and not really having enough time for any of them. In love, quality over quantity is even more important. Dating lots of people might sound good when you're bragging down at the pub, but it certainly isn't the best way to find happiness. More likely, it will result in quite the opposite. The same is true for relationships. Having too many contacts means we're stressed and spread thin. Having a few people we truly love means that we can enjoy deeper connections and lasting friendships. This is one of the central tenets of the minimalist approach to living and creating, and it almost always provides the best results. It can require patience and restraint, but if you aim to go deep rather than broad, then you will find that life is much more fulfilling and that you make a bigger impact on it. 5 easy things you can do today to declutter your home. If your house is currently a cluttered mess, you might find it surprising just how stressful that can be. When your home is in chaos, it means you don't have a safe retreat anymore, where you can relax and feel at ease. It means you can't kick back and unwind, because the plates on the side in the kitchen need washing, and there's dirty laundry all over the floor. You've been stressed all day at work, and now you've come home to a house that is equally as stressful. The good news is that it isn't hard to declutter your home. Not when you know these 5 easy tricks. 1. Automate. The first thing we're going to do is automate some of the jobs that you find you don't have time for. One easy way to do that is with a dishwasher, which will allow you to stop doing the dishes yourself and to instead let a machine take care of it. Another example is a robotic vacuum cleaner. Or how about a waste disposal unit? 2. Outsource. Even better than automating work around your house is to outsource it. Give it to someone else. One way you could do this might be to hire a cleaner. Another might be to use a mail delivery service. Sound indulgent or lazy? Really, it just comes down to one simple question. How much do you value your free time? 3. Cut back. One of the easiest ways to declutter your home is to cut back. That means having less stuff. If you throw out 30% of your ornaments, you'll find that your surfaces are much cleaner and easier to clean. What's more, the remaining items will be things you really care about. 4. Introduce systems. Systems make everything simpler and easier. For instance, introduce a system for your letters so that you know exactly where to put unopened letters and what to do with them once they've been read. 5. Have one sacred room. Our last tip is to have one room in your home that is sacred. That means no matter what state the rest of your home gets into, you should have one room that is always going to be calm and well organized. To do this, you need to make some firm rules. No food in that room, for instance. This way, you'll always have at least one place that you can go to escape and unwind.